There. Oh, I love seeing that flash, right? It's you are live. And it just it brings in a whole different vibration.
It
Truly
does.
different. Do you remember the first time that you ever did a live on your personal page or Intuition of the Soul, that feeling?
Yes, I do. I do remember it very well. Because we did it was Amy and I, we did a live, and Facebook has gotten much better with it, but we were both half cut off. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of it is funny. And when you think back, like, what if nobody watches? All of those thoughts
Yeah.
that come into the playing room. And you can't well, you can try to deny them, but the more you try and deny them, the louder that they yell. So
And
yeah.
now it doesn't even matter if somebody watches.
No.
Nope.
It's simply just it's bonus. It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary.
No, it isn't.
It's not necessary. And we're here to talk about curiosity. Oof, just gives me goosebumps. Yeah.
It's such a blessing, curiosity. It's something I've actually thought a lot about, because of my age. I'm 63, and I have lived in 55 communities, and not in 55 communities, obviously. And it's very interesting to see sometimes people just stop. I don't get it. They just, it's like something's done, and I don't know if they're expecting something to step forth and show them what to do. And a lot of times that becomes chronic illness. It just, I don't understand it. I've been such a naturally curious person. I've had many a boyfriend over the years, or people accuse me of, those eyes never stop looking. No, they don't. They're always searching, always. So,
Oh, for sure, because we admire the everything in the world, the brilliance of the relationships, the amazing way that the body is put together and held together. And there are some bodies that are pretty spectacular. And I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So some people see things differently, but I think that there is so much in that. I mean, I look at myself in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, wow, where did that come from? Like the things that wave. Actually, it's not too bad. It's not bad. But there's parts of me that really jiggle that weren't there before.
oh,
And
there's the crate. I always say, I love you, Aunt Dorothy. Oh God, when did I get Aunt Dorothy arms? So,
yeah, like my ass. Who put that there? Like what, where did, I mean, it's just, there's a beauty in growing old and all that gorgeousness, but I'm working on embracing the panty liners for when I cough, sneeze, fart, or giggle. I'm working on I'm doing yoga again, so that's helping me with that. And I'm curious to see if my pelvic floor will return. But, there's correlation, there's causation, and then there's correlation. And I love correlation because when we can show how things are connected, then we can buy into the idea more. Like, what if, as we aged, we could become more creative, intelligent, with an improved learning and memory, improved problem solving? Is that possible?
I have. I really have.
Mhm.
It is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible because it's that whole thing about manifesting. I definitely understand that's what I'm doing because that's what I've chosen to do. That's the space I chose to hold. That this is a
Mhm.
more adventuresome time. This is more, I've learned more. I'm able to problem solve more because I have less problems, for one thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I just because
Yeah.
I don't muddy myself up with other things that aren't my business. My own life is barely my business, let
Mhm.
alone other people's. And though I always laugh about, the song by John Mayer, "Your Body is a Wonderland." As you age, your
Yes.
body is a science project. So, you know, it's certainly a
Right? Like
wonderland of
mold.
curiosity. What's that? So,
It's like mold sometimes. I opened up a jar of fennel, and I was going to make some tea, and I'm like, "Ew, I didn't dry that one enough." And I'm like, "I wonder what would happen if I did." And Spirit's like, "Don't." Like, it just try again. Begin again. So I'm beginning again. I'm going to get a dehydrator this week instead of using my fireplace and hotboxing the entire house.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and
it's
yeah, uh, it is, you know, um, it's funny because, problem solving is that Virgo energy that only I've decided to call it solution generating because if I call it
Mhm.
problem solving, then I have to acknowledge life comes to me in problems. So I call it
Yes.
solution generating. Now, sometimes it doesn't need a solution generated. That's my issue. Um, but it is. It's that solution generating. What? How, so much of it I have learned is how do I look at this? I'm sorry I missed the
Mhm.
broadcast last night. I fell asleep um,
Um,
because it's 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and I like to
oh,
sleep.
time changes are so different.
Yeah,
I like sleep too.
yeah, I like to sleep, and 9:30 is one of those bewitching hours for me where my body says, it's okay now to go to bed. It's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah, no, it's fun. I love chatting with Daphne, and I've got so many amazing people coming up on shows. I still am just like wowed. Um, oh, so many, and it's a big endeavor that requires commitment, commitment. But when we commit to anything in our lives, when we set a deliberate intention that says, today I am going to do this, change is possible.
yes, it is.
It's there's so much power in owning your own space. Build a bridge and get over it.
Hmm.
That was a beautiful one that I heard in the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh gosh, I've been reaching out to people, calling people that I haven't spoken to for months. Wow. Wow. Beautiful. There was never a problem there. It was just the thought.
Hmm. I've
Yeah.
met some amazing people by just reaching out. What's how I met you?
Uh,
Do you remember how we met?
no.
Okay. Um, I have, and we'll be starting up again on Intuition of the Soul. People come and do different programs. And I think I ran into Daphne first
Yes.
because I was just looking. And that led to Jeanette, that led to you, it's just amazing how things unfold, and when you trust, when
Yeah.
you surrender, that's been a huge. So, this curiosity, I love this topic because curiosity is very connected to surrendering. Surrendering that,
There
oh,
is.
it's piqued my interest. I'm curious, but I'm going to surrender to what it means. I'm not going to control it. I'm not, and that surrender brings me more curiosity. Oh, I wonder why that went across my, vision, my
Mhm.
understanding. Um,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
You're right. I love that, to be vulnerable, because it requires, oh, there it is, surrender to uncertainty. It is surrender. And so many messages right
Yeah.
now are about this surrender, to allow what is happening to happen.
Mhm. Yeah. I wonder what will happen. And I can, with my wonderings, go into the most amazing places. I've been doing that with deliberately opening myself up to my angels at bedtime and asking them to bring me messages that I remember. And I got to be fast, off the hop, if I really want to dial into it, or I can just allow it to be okay, okay, that feels good. And then I take that feel good feeling into what it is that I'm choosing to deliberately do. Writing has become wondrous, so spectacular, as they are encouraging me. The spirit is so much love.
I, wow. I'm feeling the emotion of that. I really, yeah, I mean, this time of curiosity is also surrendering the got to do this. This is what I must do. The If I want to awaken, if I want to evolve, do it this way. No, I'm just going to surrender, and I'm going to trust that there's a reason why I want to sit here and sit here. I'm going to
Mhm.
surrender, and I'm curious as to what this leads me. And usually, within moments, something comes across. But that's new for me. You know, used to have a huge to-do list and there's a place for that. I just had not found
Mhm.
a balance with it.
Yes. Yes, that overwound. I call it rock rose because that's the Bach flower essences that I help people with. And rock rose, where is she? I'm not certain the exact wording of it. But she is that place. I say she, it's just easier for me to articulate. She is that place that says that we must do all of these things. If we don't do these things, rock water, I was off. Inflexible. Set yourself very high standards. And it's that you broke two legs in preparation for a marathon, get in a wheelchair and train your arms mentality that says you can never, ever, ever eat cheesies again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to eat the cheesies.
Yep.
And I'm not going to do the marathon. My brother's a marathon runner and I admire him. I'll go to his show. I don't think they call it a show. Um, but it will be when I show up in that green outfit that everyone's trotting around at Christmas time. What is it, a Grinch outfit? Damn, that'll be hot if it's in the summertime. But like, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, what did you say?
Oh yeah, that's
Right? And it's
that's a
not,
gauntlet.
it's
Yeah.
it's just so it is, isn't it? It
Yeah.
is. It is. It's like, oh yeah, watch me. Yeah.
Well, and it's such a funny thing, because I think that used to be really, honestly, but that was also about my perception of that. Oh, you say I can't? Well, I can. Um, I, I'm not that serious anymore. If you say I can't, well, okay, that's on you. Have a good day. You know, I remember saying to a parent who did the Ironman in Hawaii, which I guess is like the Ironman of Ironman competitions. And he was quite proud of himself, to a point that perhaps his conversations were limited. That's a nice way to say that. And so I sat down with he and his wife. It was a conference on their son. And I had been very supportive. They had a lot of boys, and they took them all to Hawaii to watch their father do this. And there were several teachers who were like, oh, they're going to miss 3 weeks of school. I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. We can make this up. This is, not high school. This is elementary school, whatever. But anyway, we sat down at the conference, and I said, wow, that was quite an accomplishment. And he went and told the whole story of the whole thing. And when he was finished, I looked at him, and this was spirit, came out. And I said, not a bone in my body wants to do that. And I said, so interesting that people can be so driven for something. There isn't a bone in my body that wants to do that, except maybe sit in ice cream and watch people do this. And his wife burst out laughing. She said, oh, I love you. Because she said it took him from this, to just like, and I said, it's quite an accomplishment, but there isn't a bone in my body that wants to do that. So, that's that piece of it.
And there are these spirit-driven lessons that we have that can be incredibly challenging.
Yes.
I mean, to think that we, in our bus stop conversation, chose all of these, the majors, these chapters in our lives that say, I am going to experience great loss. And through that great loss, I will learn grace. Okay, so I want to learn grace. Therefore, these opportunities are available to me. That's one way of looking at it. Or I'm going to come onto this earth. I'm going to be a battered woman. I'm going to experience the loss of a child, the loss of a grandchild, go through cancer, betrayal, financial, bleh. Poor meism.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those things. I think we ask for our lessons. How they show up has a lot to do with how much we've paid attention along the way. I mean, I'm having, it's hard for me to believe that in my bus stop conversation, I said, yeah, let me lose my mother as a kid, so I'm a motherless child. And yet there was something in the way that showed up that I had wanted to know about.
How old were you?
12.
12.
She'd been sick for about 5 years. So
big one.
Yes,
heavy load. My mom became ill when I was 10, so I can see the story in my mind of my life and then have more compassion for yours.
I have a lot of compassion is something I think for me, that was a part of the curiosity of surrender, really, because I would think I don't feel very compassionate, because what I would see from what I thought was compassion was people getting involved in the energy, taking it on as their own, or being overwhelmed by it. And I'm like, I don't get overwhelmed by this. And then I came to realize that, well, first of all, I had to start with compassion for myself, because I was very tough. You made a mistake. How could you do that? And so to practice compassion, I had to start for myself. And that was a place I had to start, was, you don't know a lot of things, and you don't have to feel bad about it. You didn't have somebody teach you. My mother was sick from the time I was in first grade till she passed away, between 7th and 8th grade. And So I had to surrender to, wow, if I want to really understand what compassion is, not be sucked into it, I have to surrender. I have to surrender that I don't really know what this is and follow it. So I understand. I've had to learn, I would say, what compassion is, because I used to think, oh, you have to feel the same and be as miserable as they are. And, oh, I must be cold because I'm not feeling it. Well, that's
Yeah.
because it wasn't mine to feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where we can hold space for another. We can offer love. We can do things. If we're a doer, we can bake banana bread and give that. There's many things that we can do to ease their suffering, but is it their suffering that we're trying to ease or our own?
Right. Right. Very, very much. Um, and that's where that curiosity would come back to that. It wasn't until I was curious, well,
Mm-hmm.
what is this? Is there something that I'm not doing? Is there something that they understand? I had to look at it. And it really isn't until I surrender to being curious that I move forward, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and curiosity is such a gift, you know. Uh, and I can be curious sometimes as to why I'm not curious. Like, I don't have any intention of understanding that, you know. That's a different kind of
Yeah.
curiosity. I wonder why that doesn't evoke anything into me. That maybe isn't my lesson. So, what is the lesson about things that aren't my lesson?
Well, I know, last week Ralph and I were sitting on the couch and he was watching hockey. Actually, he was on the couch and I was in the kitchen. And there was NHL, three dudes. Guy in the middle his name is Noodles. I can always remember his name. And then there was this OG guy and the other guy. And they were talking about how their wives were watching Christmas movies and how they couldn't understand why these women were watching the same movies, the same storyline, the same predictability. And they're, I don't get it. Noodles in the middle is saying nothing. He might have gotten some that night. The other two guys, I'm not sure. And I'm sitting in the kitchen and I'm like, really? You guys are watching hockey, which is extremely predictable because two teams are going to get on the ice. They're going to shoot a snowball around. They might fight. Somebody's going to win. And you're talking about predictability.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what would happen. And then Ralph's like, shh. And I'm thinking, wonder what it would be like if you guys were in The Sound of Music. And that in my mind just wandered to doe, a deer, a female deer, ray, a it's just this dreamscape that's expanding and moving, and all of a sudden Connor McDavid is on and they're all just holding hands, and I'm just like, wow. It's so much more fun. There's a blue line and there's a hard line of what I will no longer tolerate in my life. And then when that toleration comes and I'm like, oh, you again. I got my cards and I ain't laying nothing down because I'm waiting for you to lay down the first card. Right? Go fish.
Go fish. Are you going to trump? Yeah, it's so interesting that I struggle a little bit with my boundaries. How do I want to say this? When I know that it's something I don't want, where is my boundary line of walking away, being able to just be there and not? Sometimes you don't have an option to walk away. You're somewhere, and so that's when for me, I'm really practicing the compassion of, You really don't know what to do. So be compassionate with yourself. What would you hope would happen in the situation? And then start to act that way. You know, I I,
Yes. Yes.
I need to
It,
start there.
it's like being Rain Man. Sometimes it's that Rain Man,
Hmm.
where you're like Wednesday, 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 December 11th, Wednesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Monday, Monday, and you're like, just stay. You can feel your way through this. You can breathe your way through this. It's okay. Um,
It's okay not to know. That was very hard for me to learn. I don't know. So how do I pause long enough? I'm curious as to what I need to do next. So sometimes that's what I have to focus on. Compassion for I have no idea how I got here, why I'm feeling this, or what to do. And that
mhm,
kind of acknowledgement allows me freedom to follow. So, what am I going to do about that? There's that curiosity. What do you do about that? Hmm.
mhm.
So, very, very.
Yeah, because there's so many options. Which window am I going to crawl out through? Oh, look, it's not a window. It's a slippery slide.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, there's a beauty in that because we've got some astrologically interesting times that are
Oh,
just around the corner.
there's a big
So
circle
tell
around
me about
March.
that.
Well, spring has a big circle
March.
around it. That is well, January itself is very interesting astrologically. We start with January 1st, we have Mercury, which has been retrograde or retrograding actually Wednesday, goes direct. We have Pluto heading forward back into Aquarius at that 0 degree again, which is karmic reset of our structure, the vision of who we are. In general, there's a lot of pins being laid, and there's something that's happening in this spring. There's some separation, and that's why it's very interesting. Surrender to the curiosity. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. It's being picked up. It's being talked about. The surrender, be here in the moment, work on the moment, because that is everything all at once. Somehow learning to do that allows us to tap into this next piece. So astrologically, we have some big shifts of the vision of who we are and transforming that heading our way. Huge shifts. Um, and we are letting go of, at the moment, so many beliefs. And we have to be curious about, what are my beliefs? We think we know them. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, wait a minute. Is that something I really want to be my belief? I'm trying to remember what I ran into the other day. Something about, it was about karma. Do I really need to believe that that karma gets us or doesn't get us? Or is it more about my attraction of what I need? So even some of my beliefs around karma, I'm looking at differently. Like, oh, that's a whole different way, as opposed to there's a abacus up there. That's kind of been the basic belief in the back of my head. And it's like, I don't think that that's really what it is. It's more about.
No,
Go
it,
ahead.
it, it's I like to see it, and back to the problem solving concept, is it is cause and effect, but there are so many of the players' pieces that I do not know how they're going to move, nor do I know. It's like the movie Men in Black, right? It's that adorable puppy that you lean over to, and you're like, "Oh my God, you're a pug," and the pug says, "Yeah, what's your point?" And you're like, the animals are talking to me now.
Hmm.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, this is going to be different. Hmm. Anybody want to go to the zoo?
Really? Well, in Men in Black, I love the concept of the little thingy erases your memory.
Oh gosh.
And it's like, that really does exist. If I understand that in the present moment, everything is of the future and the past, it's my constraint, then I can go back and visit and let go of things. I just can.
Yes.
And I find
Yes. And
myself
that's
really
where when
doing
you
it.
understand that, well, it's that quantum. I was explaining to someone how through my distance sessions, I am able to work on different layers and levels of you and the life that you were in, as well as the current. And then we can also work on the vibration of the future because they're all existing in the same time
Mhm.
of now. And that when we work on one, it shifts the directions of others. And this man is an engineer. And he just kind of like, I'm like, okay, did you take physics in school? Yeah. Okay, so when you change the fulcrum, when you remove some things from this side, it changes everything, right? Yeah. But he was trying to intellectualize it. And it was a fun conversation more for me than him because he just kind of I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where he went with that. But in trying to explain that, it's like trying to explain to someone who's allergic to seafood what shrimp tastes like.
Aha, that's a very good explanation. Yes. And shrimp to me
Yeah, you're
doesn't taste
allergic
like
to
shrimp to
seafood.
you. Yeah.
No,
And
no.
that's very
I think of shrimp and I'm already in the butter, but there's lemon. Oh, and then the skewers.
Hmm.
Oh, octopus. I love grilled octopus.
I don't think I've ever had it.
Oh, so good.
I
Yeah.
mean, that goes back to what you're talking about, creating with curiosity. Aren't you curious as to how things really work? We know we don't know it all. We know that it changes. So my curiosity allows me to create the world I want. I want to see how I can, for me, um, g- get out and do more shows like this with people talking about astrology. I wonder curiously, how do I tap into that energy? You know, and,
Mhm.
and everyone will do that differently. So I'm kind of curious what my path is, and that, people sell a lot of things. This is the way you do it. Is it? Is that going to work? And doesn't mean it doesn't work, but it works for them, and it will work for some other people.
Mhm.
But they've also energetically
Absolutely.
shifted something. So
I was talking with a young friend. I haven't, and I say young because she's much younger than me. I haven't spoken to her in months. And she's getting her pilot license. And I'm just like, what? That's so cool. Like, so cool. Like, I'm so happy for you to be able to celebrate other people's success. I think is a pivotal pin on the map whereby I can say, "Oh, Kitty, I'm so happy that you're in Florida. That's fabulous." Like, oh, to be able to I want to feed crocs one day, or is it gators? I don't know.
well, they're both
The
here.
one like you stand over them with okay,
Gators
there
are
you go.
usually what people do, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, so cool. So cool.
Well,
That'd be
you have
so
to
much
come
fun.
visit. You have to come visit.
I know, I know. Like,
Um,
yeah, like, and it's possible.
it is possible.
Mm.
That it's interesting you're saying that, because just before I came on. I had a little brief period of time, and I was dealing with jealousy. Happy that somebody is able to do something, and at the same time, we all have that. I'm very curious about this. That voice that says, "Why not me? Why not me?" Somehow, your success takes away from my ability, and it's infinite. Infinite. If we know energy is infinite, why does that? How do we come up with A plus B equals C? Does it? Does it?
Yeah, it is. It is. When we were, Jeanette spoke of in Cosmic Consciousness, a beautiful book by Brene Brown, and I picked it up and I got it in hardcover because there's certain things that I like in hardcover, and anything to me that is a text book, I like in hardcover. And it is 2 words, and forgive my German, Schadenfreude,
Schadenfreude.
is,
I know. I read this book. Yes.
yes. It is in the case of Schadenfreude, it simply means pleasure or joy from someone else's suffering or misfortune, which we have all done.
Yes.
Which we have all done. And then the other, Freudenfreude, which is the opposite. It's the enjoyment of another's success. It's also a subset of empathy.
That's a very good book. I've read that book where she goes through all these emotions and breaks them. We don't have words in English, folks, which is why we're using the German words. We don't have a word where we identify that. The most I've ever understood it as is, do you know the Little House books, Laura Ingalls Wilder?
Oh gosh, yes.
She talks about mean gladness, and which is kind of like Schadenfreude.
Oh, wow.
She
Yes.
she calls it bubbles up. Her nemesis, if you know the books, is Nellie Olson, and in the
Yes.
books she talks about Nellie Olson got a fur cap and a cape. And she had taunted Laura, saying, "Your father's not rich enough. My dad's a store owner. You couldn't afford those." And they were at a Christmas party, and there was a tree with gifts for everybody, and a lot of it had come from donations back east. And Laura ends up with a new cape and a hood and a muff. And she talked about walking by Nellie Olson, and she says, "A bit of mean gladness boiled up inside me. For Nellie, my furs were prettier than Nellie's, and Nellie had no muff." It was like, oh, mean
Yeah.
gladness. So,
Yeah.
enjoying the misery of
And
somebody
that's a good one, because I remember those. That was Sunday night.
else.
That was Sunday night for a long time, and it was during those times when I had 3, 5, 11, 13 at my grandparents' home. It was the basic. There was no cable. And it was the programming that was available. And looking at what everyone else had. But when you're so busy looking at what everyone else has, you fail to see what you have.
Right. And I understand mean gladness because it is, you didn't cause it. That's the biggest thing about it, is I didn't cause it. I didn't purposely do somebody and enjoy their misery. That's different than Schadenfreude, whatever. It's I go back to what I was saying about karma. It's very related to that. Who am I to say, oh, that was her karma, and enjoy that? It's like, oh, more compassion is, wow, that's tough for them. And, and I even want to, even when I say that, oh, but maybe they'll learn a lesson. Not my circus, not my monkeys. So we have some, but they're real emotions. The little emotion of
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where it's important when the emotions do come in the time of now,
Yep.
where we have the ability to see them, to feel them, and to move through them. That is where the healing potential is possible.
Yes.
It's when we can taste it in the now, or we can stuff it
Yes.
in
And
our
where
bra like a Kleenex.
hmm
Yeah.
and that's where we go back to, for me, why I became much more curious about compassion. Where's the line here?
Mhm.
Acknowledging, and um, does that ever disappear? But perhaps with practice, it isn't some. I'm not, because I realized I was curious about how many things I've kept score on in my life, because it's about score.
Oh,
That mean gladness that it has to do with score. I'm not getting enough, therefore I can enjoy your misery, as opposed
score
to,
and scorned.
yeah,
Score and scorned.
yeah. So it,
I love understanding words. Words give me assistance, great assistance when I understand the meaning of the word, then the meaning of the word to me, or the way it was taught to me. I remember writing an essay when I was in my creative writing course in university, and I got dinner and diner map,
mm,
lay and lay, lie and lie. And our English language is complicated, but it's in the ability to label, that we try to make sense of a world that isn't. Um, yeah, it isn't. And then we start talking about the authors that I know and the people that I know, and we start doing that. Right? I went to the school of.
oh yes, our labels, you know,
Mm.
and that's one of those things where we are scorekeeping in our, oh
Yes.
well, this school is better than this. We're ranking, and it's an interesting piece of. There's a great book about language. Have you read The Four Agreements?
Oh, I was just thinking of that. That's where the labels came from, the mitote.
Ah,
Yes. And then the fifth agreement and. Every
the
time I
fifth
read
agree.
them,
The Fifth Agreement was an
every time I
amazing
read
book.
them,
Yes.
every time I read them, it's something else that's in there. And that's why I like making notes in my book, so that when I open them up, I'm like, that's what you were thinking.
Well, and
Cool.
the Fifth Agreement was a gift for me this summer, because to look at the fact, even the word curiosity we're talking about, we all have different agreements around that word. Curiosity to me is this very kind of positive, inquisitive, try, as a teacher, wanted to bring that out in children. You may have a story with the word curiosity where somebody got hurt because they were curious,
Killed
or
the cat.
killed.
Killed the cat. Killed the cat.
Yeah.
Curiosity killed the cat. Satisfaction brought it back, maybe.
And so understanding that we all have different agreements around words is
Mm.
critical, to being able to tap in the energy. So, because the fifth agreement, the fifth agreement says, be skeptical, but learn to listen. I don't use the word but anymore. Be skeptical
And
and learn to listen. Yes. And
and and
learn,
and oh,
and,
the
and,
butt
and
the butt belongs in your jeans. Like, that's
yes,
it.
yes. Because when you say
It's
but, you
yeah.
negate what's before it. And
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but you were an asshole.
yes,
My
and it's
kids
still true to
felt
say,
like I was
I
there.
am sorry, and you are an asshole. Those are both true. So, those can,
Yeah.
and I think that that is part of curiosity. If when I say and, I'm curious now, how can I hold both of these the same? When I want to
Yes.
say but,
Yes.
it's got more to do with the bean keeping, the abacus in my head. When I use and, I'm looking at all of the sides of this. And I'm kind of curious, how do I hold both of those dualities? Where do I want to put my
Yes.
energy?
Yes.
So,
Yes. And even in our decisions each day, we can, like you said, we were talking about agendas and making lists of things to do. There will be opportunities where if you're planning on going to the grocery store and you go downstairs and have a flat tire, well,
yeah,
hmm.
yeah. Well, and that's very important right now, by the way, because with Mercury going retrograde in Capricorn, it's very physical, it's very bigger picture. And so a lot of plans that you may have over this season, weather, flat tires, people change, illness. Let me think of some positive ones. Different opportunity, um, uh, realized that this is a boundary you don't want to attend. This is part of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is a gift when we get it. I know people, you are being asked to communicate, experience it differently because it gets changed. That's what it's about. So it's a gift of time. Curious as to what is it I'm supposed to learn because this event got canceled or this didn't happen. It's how you approach it. So that it's definitely a time of introspection. That's why it happens so often in a year. Slow us down. Take a look. Mercury is the planet of communication, technology, and experience. How are you going to experience this thing that's changed? So,
Yeah.
very, very important right now, especially in
Well,
Capricorn.
and as you were showing those things, as you were speaking, the things that came to my mind were interesting creations that I've seen in my life. I love when people create foods and I get to experience them. So there's one delightful recipe that is Rice Krispie square-ish things, like the batter of Rice Krispie squares. So the Rice Krispies and the marshmallow with a fruit gummy in the middle. So you wrap it around and then you take a fruit roll up, you wrap that around it and you slice it. And then you've got these really neat sushi like treats. And there's like, oh, so cool. So I love watching what people bring to the table. Figuratively, like the actual food, but also what expressions are they bringing to the table? Who are they showing up as? Who am I showing up as? All of a
Mhm.
sudden, I'm like, oh, you were not supposed to be here. Woo!
Yeah. These are the characters of our stories that show up. Hence why storytelling. Which character is
Yeah.
in your hero's journey right now? And which expression of the character, our strengths and our weaknesses. I felt very blessed that I learned that very young are the same thing. The thing that makes me decisive and able to solution generate is also the thing sometimes that has me have to redo something because I went, you know. The thing that has me being very kind and able to um, hold the space is also the part that has made me look at compassion because I'm able to step back to hold the space, which means sometimes that doesn't feel as warm and fuzzy, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the
Mm-hmm.
same characteristic. It's how I view it and how I use it. So I love that you say, who showed up today? You know,
Yeah.
what skill am I
Well,
going to
because
call
we
upon?
spend a lot of time, well, we spend a lot of time and energy pre-planning in our minds exactly what's going to happen at an event.
Yes.
Um, that's exhausting.
Yeah,
That's exhausting because all of a sudden nobody turned the oven on for turkey.
yeah. Well, it
And whose fault is that?
and when I run scenarios, I'm not present in really what's happening in the moment
No.
in
Yeah.
anticipation. So I have learned, not that it always happens, when I start to have a conversation, well, he said this and I'm going to say this or blah, blah, like, no, whoa. Now, this is when I've had to learn the compassion. Have some compassion. You're feeling uncertain. That's why you're coming up with a story. And at this point, how about you let the story unfold? So I used to be a stop it, stop it, stop it.
Mhm.
That didn't help me. So have some compassion. Oh, you must have a need here to run a scenario about this. There's something you're feeling unsure of. Curious as to what that is. Following curiosity is creative. Why am I feeling like that? Let me take a look. Let me follow that, and I can create a different scenario, a different outcome, a different energetic um, opportunity experience.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's oh, I can almost see this movie. You might know it as I'm describing it, but it's like it's an action adventure movie. It begins with the letter I. And the characters, as the story unfolds, you begin to see the story unfolding in front of you. And it's this you're trying to grasp at something. It's like the Matrix kind of a feeling, and everything is changing and evolving so fast that you're not able to really control anything as you're falling. It's just in this moment. It's just in this moment. And there is so much in this moment. And when you get that the world stops spinning and you are still, it's that observer's ability where you're able to look down, that so much is there, so much is revealed. And I notice that sometimes just looking at my hand, I'm just like, wow.
Hmm.
And we can pull ourselves out of the panic. We can pull ourselves out of the panic by just stopping, naming 5 things that you see: ring, finger, smiley face, command key, letter C. Big power, big power. There's a lot that you can do in this moment when you feel like everything's unraveling.
I love that. Yes, there is, you know,
Yeah.
and it's all about creating the world you want to be in. I think I'm going to just speak for myself, was somewhat raised that there were standard things and then I had work within these constraints. And now I'm realizing, no, really to create the world I want is to create it. And it's an active process. And I'm that's where curiosity comes in. I want to learn the new tools. I want to learn the new things that are going on so that I can create it. So,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and
And
so,
and to land, there's so much. I'm right with you there, Kitty. It's like that feeling when you get that pain in your body. What are you? Who are you? Where did you come from? What am I feeling when I'm feeling this feeling? Can I allow it to pass through my body?
mm,
Oh, there it goes. Oh, there's another one. And as we age, the geriatric conversations are, those ones always get me when people start talking about their bowel movements
yeah.
in the seniors' homes and stuff. And I'm just like,
Yeah, I'm very aware of that. I'm making a plan that will not be me. When somebody asks me how I'm doing,
Yes.
I'll say a couple sentences and be done, as long as my faculties are still here. And
Yes.
and the answer isn't always fine either. So we're curious. Where's the part that moves me forward, where I really answer the question, but I don't overshare? So
It's the audience too. Sometimes it's the audience where they're like, how are you? And you're like, new earrings.
yeah, I like those
New
earrings,
earrings. They match my panties. Oh shoot, oversharing again.
Thanks for sharing.
But it depends upon the audience, right? And when you see a small child, we were talking in the very beginning about the Christmas concert. And there's that one child up on stage and they're showing everybody their panties.
Yep.
And we worry that that's the child that's going to become a prostitute later on, but they end up being a professor in paleontology.
Right. Yeah.
We just don't know.
But again, the idea that we worry about that child, well, unless I'm really related to that child, let that child just be who that child is. It's not my job. It's not my business. It's not my circus. It's not my monkeys. Unless I'm a teacher and I'm like, honey, keep your dress down. I've been that teacher. Keep your dress down. On the stage, some people, but I have a great story about that. I'll tell you that one privately some other time, about a mother who very much wanted her child to be very free, and they were a family that didn't wear a lot of clothes, and how that she tried to explain to her daughter that not everybody was that comfortable. And so her daughter decided that it was about her grandparents, that when her grandparents would come to visit, she would literally do, as her mother described it, who was very open, a lewd dance. That she was like, oh, no. There's one thing about being comfortable with your body, and there's another thing about being lewd. Just
No. I know. And that's where some of the celebrations of our society are optional for a reason.
Yeah, for a reason. Yep.
They're optional for a reason. We don't need to be parading through our senior centers on unicorns throwing sparkles everywhere we go. I mean,
right.
Yeah, choose your audience, right? Choose your audience.
Choose your audience. That's right. So it was probably one of the funniest stories I've ever heard, because she was really trying to respect her in-laws and respect her own, and explain to her that not everybody's as comfortable with the human body. And so we're going to respect, because they're coming to visit us in our home. And the next thing you know, her daughter's taking off all her clothes and is doing, literally, she goes, I would call it lewd. Hey, grandma, my butt. And, flashing, and just, she said she could not move fast enough to pick up her daughter. Like, no.
Oh, it's like Little Miss Sunshine. Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
Did you see that movie before, Little Miss Sunshine? Right?
Yes.
It's why we have the adult gummy bears in one bowl and the children's gummy bears in another.
Yes, right. So,
right? Not everybody chooses. And it's okay either way, but
and right, this was part of her grandparents' journey too, because the mother had really set a goal with all of the in line to respect, and her daughter decided, I'm going to teach grandma. She was 3. They don't like it here. One of the funniest stories I've ever heard in my whole life. She goes, so what do you do with that? Like, positive discipline wise, you know? She says, I
Yeah.
need to teach her you can't purposely go out to bother people, especially when they're in your home. They're not telling you how to live, but you're respecting that they have different boundaries. So it's a great
Yes.
story.
And I think that's one of the greatest lessons for this season, whereby we are spending so much time with others.
Yes.
You know, if someone asks you to take your boots off at the door, please do so.
Right. Right.
Be kind.
Right.
Be kind.
If you're going to their home, that's their home. And when you have relatives and you are also teaching about mutual respect, and that's what she said. I had to go back and talk to her about mutual respect. Not everybody's going to live your way. You don't have to force it on them, though. And when they're a guest in your home and you know that, you are respectful. She said it was a very funny story because she not only wasn't respectful, but she was literally lewd. She's like, no, I wouldn't let you do that. So why would we do that for your grandparents?
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No,
I think
so funny.
that young lady must
Funny.
be in her 30s now. So, but it was a funny story. Very funny story.
Well, and that's in this world of technology where everything is available for recording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just
it's good it wasn't around then because
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love talking to you. This has been fun.
This is so much fun. And we get to do it again tonight in a different way because I'm coming to the astrology class. I'm so excited.
Yes,
I didn't do my homework.
Huh? There's no
I didn't
homework.
do my homework.
There's no homework.
Oh, okay, good.
We're going to tonight we're going to really take a deep dive into planets and placements and really make sure we have, because that's the basic of it, and then talk about aspects. So
And see, that's one thing when I was speaking to Spirit and I asked them, can you please help me with these difficulties in my life? I don't quite know what to do with this. And they reminded me of the beauty in taking something and having some fun with it. So this is my 7-card spread. So when I'm teaching tarot, explaining to people how it is that I've learned, because when I first learned tarot, I created charts and diagrams for myself. And I love this. This is watercolor pencils. And I'm going to take the markers to it next. This is one of the ways that I've learned. So to bring that out, not because that's how I expect you to learn or even if you care about tarot cards, but this is what I have done to learn. So why don't we curiously see what you want?
right. That's funny because that's next month. So where are we? Because we have 2 months left, and
Yeah.
So very, very much for that. Oh, this has been fun.
This has been so much fun. So thank you. Daphne says hello. She could not be here because she was being kind and helping a friend, picking up a shift. And yeah, it's good.
So I will see you tonight, but thank you all folks that are
thank you, everyone.
This, and many blessings in this seasons of light.
Yes, this beautiful season of light and joy. Joy.
Tap into the joy. Joy is very prevalent astrologically right now. If you tap into it, if you are curious, how do I get there? You're going to create new pathways. And it's in every moment
so many.
How you approach stuff.
So many. It really, truly is. So yes, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Oh, so much fun. so much fun.